It was the footwear capital of the United States. Not necessarily real high-wage jobs, but it had a steady ladder of opportunity for a generation of immigrants and others who had come to New England, and in many instances, families by 2 or 3 generations had worked in that respective industry. The New Balance is still there, and it's certainly a name with international reputation. And as we look at growing foreign imports, particularly from Vietnam, how can we be assured that in your role that you're going to continue to not only monitor tariff issues, but what's the administration's position on making sure that, if necessary, that those tariffs remain in place to keep New Balance and what's left of that industry competitive in a marketplace where it's much more difficult to compete?
Thank you, Mr. Neal. We have been in close touch with the industry on this issue. You know, as we are seeking comprehensive market access for the TPP, we have very real sensitivities, including in the area of rubber footwear. And what we need to do and are doing is to work in very close consultation with them and with you as we determine how to best address issues of sensitivity as in the rubber footwear sector. And so we are committed to working with you and with the industry to do so.
Okay. And Mr. McDermott and Mr. Reichert both mentioned biosciences. As you know, that's terribly important to Massachusetts. And that whole notion of intellectual capital and how it's protected is also a very important consideration as we go forward. And I won't ask you to repeat the answers that you've given previously, but as much as to point out how important it is to the millions of jobs across the country, many of those jobs centered in Massachusetts. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Mr. Herger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to join Mr. Ambassador in thanking you for the work